Now the next step after we've entered a user is to enter a phone number entry. Remember that the scenario stated that each user has one or more phone numbers. So for a user to be valid, they also need that phone number record. So we can, inside this try catch block, because this also could produce an error, is we want to insert into, now this time we're inserting it into phone number is the table. And the values that we're going to insert are the ones required by phone number, which is the phone number. So that's the one that they sent. So the @phone number. And then the user ID, again, the one that they sent. And those are the values we need to insert into the phone number table. So let's execute that and update it. And then go back and try this. Go ahead and create a unique user ID and fix this problem and say, okay, this is an instructor and student. Hope I got that one right. To see if we can enter, let's execute it. Oh, I didn't get it right. 1, 2, 3. I don't have enough numbers. Good thing our errors are in there fixing this. It'll solve some of our entry ones. And now we have 2 rows that were affected. The user was entered and the phone number was inserted. Now we have 2 inserts happening, so 2 SQL commands, right? 2 queries happening that we want to either both happen or neither happen. So it's still the case that there could be a problem, that either one of these could have a problem when the insert occurs that could be caught by the database management system. We will catch that and report it, but now what we want to do is to identify that if one doesn't work, we don't want the other one to work. So to do this, we're going to use what are called transactions. And we're going to say, well, try them. If they both work, then commit them. If they don't, then roll them back. And so what we're going to do is inside our try, so this is just surrounding those insert statements, we are going to begin a transaction. So there's the begin transaction, and it's going to include both of these statements. And you can go ahead and include as many different statements as you want to in that. And then we put the end. Now, and we don't end it. What we do is we say commit it. So commit transaction. So if they happen, it's going to do both of them. If both of them work, then it'll commit the transaction. If either one of them throw an error, then it will come out to this catch and it will never get to the commit, which means that neither of them will be committed. And then inside the catch part, what we want to do is we want to say rollback. And that will undo any part of the transaction that has happened. Because that transaction begun, there was an error, it never got to this, so there's a transaction in process. And so when we get to catch, we want to say rollback, stop that transaction, print the error. Now let's see how this works. Okay, that worked. Now let's go ahead and make a mistake like we did before. Let's just pick something we know won't work. We know that won't work. And we'll go ahead and change this because we know we use that. And execute. And user must be an instructor to have a department. So notice that we're catching all of our errors, which is what we want it to do. And it's not a student either, so let's go ahead and do that. Okay, error occurred, user was not added. So here's a case where the insert didn't work because something was caught by the database management system, and it transferred our area, and it transferred out, right? It went to our catch, and our catch handled what happened. And neither insert worked. Hey, let's check and see if there's anything left we do. If they work, print a message about the user added successfully. If they don't work, print an error message that user was not added. So we have an error message that user did not added. So up here after the commit transaction, let's go ahead and put a print statement that said that the user was added correctly, right? That we can say new user added, and we could go ahead and put plus and go list the user ID. Okay, so there we have a print statement there. Execute it. And now let's go ahead. We've tested when it doesn't work. Let's go ahead and test something that does work. So let's change this just to A and see if we can get that to work. And sure enough, the new user was added, and it told us that user number. And there we have our complete procedure. So we can copy all of our code over into our solution and put our the correct database and drop the procedure if it doesn't exist, and then the entire procedure. We want everything in there. And to put that there and do go. And now you can test, you can take all of these. So here's a set of them to see if they work. So we can just capture the whole thing and see if we get the kind of response that we're expecting. So in this query, I'm just going to put them all in there and run it. Oh, and we had an error on the first one that's supposed to work, and that's because we've been using him, so that makes sense that that ID is already there. But we have 3 that didn't follow specified pattern. We had 1 that worked with a new user added, and we had an error ID already used, and instructor must have a department. So here, look at all of our tests happening. Must have a major user, must be a student. Then we have a user that actually worked. So we got 2 vectors. We'll get 3 when we're running it originally, because this one will work. And there you go. We've tested, we've written a procedure, we've protected it with a try-catch block, we've protected our multiple transactions. Looks like that I missed the bottom one. So let's go ahead and do that one as well. And there's the one that said error occurred, user was not added to the database. Now that I've run all those tests, the last thing to do is to add 2 more users of your own with no errors. And that puts us all done.